Hey, what up, it's your boy, Catman, Street Cat Zach, and that's Pussballer, eating up all the food that I put out for the little ones. He's being a little piggy. I come here to sit for a while and get myself acclimated to them, and I figured I'd tell you guys a little story. It's Memorial Day, where we come to, I don't know, pay homage to our veterans, our fallen warriors. And so I'll tell you a story of Burserillo the WarDog. It's kind of an interesting story. I didn't know that I'd have him out here so quick eating the food up. But anyway, let me just jump into the story. I'm here to acclimate myself. And so, just chilling and talking. And let's see here. Is that better? Yeah, it's a little bit better. And that's Big Papa eating all the food. But anyway, the story is of Burserillo the WarDog. And it basically starts out in a normal part of history that you guys all know about. What is it? 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. And we think he landed on America, but that's incorrect. He actually landed on the island of Jamaica. I say this because this island is a little bit close to my heart, being as that I am half Jamaican. My father was Jamaican. And so I have family in Jamaica. I don't really talk with them much. I've been kind of a vagabond on the streets my whole life, so I don't really have vacation money to get down there. But anyway, needless to say, they pulled up and immediately started subduing the natives. The natives of the island then looked different than the natives do now. They were, well, what they called Indians back then. They called them Indians, but immediately, you know, they jump off the boat. They got their metal armor, their metal swords. I forget if they had muskets or whatever back then, but they also had war dogs. They had two kinds primarily. One was kind of a greyhound, which you might think weird for a war dog, but they run real fast and they can pinch a throat real good. And the other kind was a think of a mastiff type, like a big bullish type with big meaty jowls that will, you know, kind of comfort its teeth when it's chomping. You know, that's what those jowls are for, to keep them from breaking their teeth when they're chomping down on bone and whatnot. Well, anyway, these animals are used to going on hunting expeditions and catching bucks and boars and whatnot, so, or going into war facing armored men on horseback, you know. So when you take them and sick them on natives that have virtually no armor and, you know, stone and stick weapons, it's kind of, you know, the difference between a boar's hide and a human skin is kind of like, let's put it this way, us humans were kind of like them biting into a jelly donut, you know. I mentioned Jamaica because that was where they dropped off the rowdy slaves. He's peeking out again. But that's where they dropped off the rowdy slaves, the ones that wouldn't behave. It doesn't really have too much to do with the story, except that's the first place he landed, and that's the first place where they implemented using the war dog. Anyway, throughout time, they subdued more and more land, the Spanish conquistadors, different islands and whatnot, and I come to you to speak, like I said, originally about Burserillo. He is the most famous war dog throughout history, and it's because of this story that I'm going to tell you here now. Burserillo, which the name translates roughly to little bull calf, had a handler named Diego Salazar. All this information that I'm getting, I get from a book called Paw Prints of History. The author is Stanley Coram. The reason I'm mentioning all this stuff, these exact dates and authors and stuff like that, isn't to bore you. It's to let you know that this is a real story. This really happened. This isn't a myth. This isn't a tall tale. This is recorded down in history. This really happened. This is a real dog This is a real story. Burserillo, little bull calf, the most famous hunting dog or war dog throughout history. And because he was very lethal, he was very good at his job, let's say. Well, anyway, his handler, Diego Salazar, plus most of all the other conquistadors, there's your buddy out there again, all the other conquistadors, they had zero respect for human life, especially when you're talking about natives. Indians, they called them. And they would feed their Indians, their natives, to their dogs. One thing that would acquire the dogs to have a taste for human blood and human flesh. Another thing, it was a very cheap way to keep your dogs fed. You didn't have to feed it any of your livestock. You could feed it your enemies that you've conquered. So they would hang slabs of human beings up. Now, keep in mind, these are Christians. These are honorable men, you know. They would hang up an Indian, they called it, and let their dog eat it. They also had a practice they called, what is it here? La Materia Inferno, or hellish hunting. They also called it dogging. More familiar, they usually just called it dogging. And what this is it's a game they would play on an unsuspecting native person, saying, here, take this note, this whatever, I need you to take it over to this other general in this other camp. And then, as he took the note down to the other camp, they would yell out, Tamalos, Tamalos, which was basically the equivalent to saying, sick 'em, get 'em. So this unsuspecting native who's walking down the street, okay, sucks, we've been conquered, and they probably killed all my kids and my family and all this and all that, and I'm scared half to death. But anyway, he told me to take this guy this note, I'm going to take this note. And then you hear them yell something in the background. You don't really know what they're saying because you're a native. You don't speak their same language. But you hear behind you, roo, 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 roo. And you know that sound all too well, as do my ancestors. Many a times have one of my ancestors been running through the woods or the swamp, one shackle on one leg, the other shackle on the other leg, attached to a big long chain, but he's free, so he's got to run as fettered as he is. And then you hear that, oh my God, I can only imagine the fear in someone's heart and mind once they hear the dog back there on them, because you know it's only a matter of time. You can't outrun them. You can't. They're coming and they're gonna get you. So anyway, they would yell out, Tamalos, sick 'em, boy, basically whatever, and the dog would dog the Indian down and rip him to shreds. Good training for the dog, and a nice bit of fun for the generals and the soldiers who were sitting around. You know, there's really not much for a soldier to do in a land that has surrendered due to the brutality that you've caused or the family members they're trying to save. They've surrendered. There's nothing to do but sit around, get drunk, and I guess watch Indians get torn to shreds. Natives get torn to shreds by their attack dogs. Anyway, now that I've introduced you to the practice of dogging, or like I said to you earlier, La Materia Inferno, hellish hunting, let me reintroduce to you Burserillo, who was, like I said, probably for this incident right here, is probably what made him most famous, but he was also very famous because he was a very effective war dog. But anyway, as legend has it, as not legend, as the story goes, and it is written down, and I can explain to you later, not long, how you do know this is true. I do know this is true. We do know this is true. He gives the note to this woman, this native woman, and says, you know, take it down to the next camp, and, you know, because we need to get this message down to them. And they're sniggering under their breath, you know, and off she goes. And, you know, we say they didn't know what was going to happen. But people catch on to things real quick. I'm sure if they've seen other natives get dogged after they were told to deliver a message, I'm sure it's kind of like that scene in Schindler's List where that Jewish boy brought, I forget, did he bring the papers back or was it laundry or something? Either way, the Nazi guard said, "This is unacceptable. I need you to take it back." So he scoops it up and he's walking back, and while he's doing it, he picks up a rifle and starts cocking it and firing it just over the kid's shoulder. You know, the fact that this kid doesn't jump or start or move or do anything like that shows that this is a mind game that this guard plays with him every day. And he never knows when the last shot will come. The guy fires 4 or 5 shots over his shoulder as he's walking because he's used to this game. And on the last one, obviously, it's the last one, he decides, you know what, I'm done playing this game with them. And he hits the kid. And then it pans back and you see the kid laying there, you know, whatever. I'm sure the natives were kind of catching on to these games. So either way, she's walking, clutching this note, walking up to take it to the next camp, and she's wondering if she's going to hear behind her, "Tomalos," or maybe not. Maybe she was oblivious. I don't know. I'm just putting myself in their mind frame, in their shoes. I ask people do that a lot when you're thinking about any of the things that we're talking about. Put yourself in another person's shoes or another thing's shoes, that which is suffering, and realize how much you would wish someone would come to your rescue. Anyhow, so she's walking down the street with this note, either very scared that she's going to hear "Tomalos" shouted out behind her, or like I said, oblivious. I think she knew, and I'm going to explain to you why right now. Because sure as the sun rises, they yelled out behind her, "Tomalos, Tomalos," mean 'em, sick 'em, get 'em, boy. And here comes Burserillo, roof, 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 running down to whatever after her. And she's thinking in her head, oh my God, this is it. And I'm sure anybody else, just like I would panic in that situation and just run off the path, try to climb a tree, do whatever. As we all know, the exact opposite thing that you should do when in a predatory situation, because it makes the predator assume that you are prey. Therefore, they chase you down and do what they do to prey. I won't get too descriptive. I think you guys have seen National Geographic. Oh, these mosquitoes and whatnot. You've seen National Geographic. You've seen what predators do to their prey. Well, this is what the war dogs were doing to the natives that they were sicked on during this sick game called dogging. This woman acted different, however. She didn't run off. She didn't do whatever. Possibly because, like all the cases before, she saw there was no escape. You're not going to outrun this dog. You're not going to outfight this dog. You're not going to, succeed in any way, shape, or form on any of those things. So what she did was fell to her knees, and accounts differ here a little bit. Maybe she prayed she fell to her knees and said something like, "Lord dog, please don't hurt me." Or maybe she prayed to, their God, technically our God, our Christian God, because this is being done by Catholic Christian men, or whatever. Whoever she prayed to, she fell to her knees and prayed. Either God reached down and stopped the animal, or the weird behavior reached down and stopped the animal, or perhaps compassion and the heart of the animal stopped the animal. Whatever it is, something stopped him. He sniffed her. Some accounts say that he lifted his leg and peed on her and then walked away. That last part, whether he lifted his leg and peed on her, in the book, it's contested as to whether that really happened or not, or if it's just, listed as part of the tale. Either way, News of this gets back to someone I'm sure you've all heard of, Ponce de Leon. He was the one in charge of these things. Like I said, Christopher Columbus is the one that originally landed on Jamaica, but all these other islands and South American continents, you know, it took a long time. It didn't happen overnight. So this expedition was led under none other than Ponce de Leon. And news of this incident reached him. And so we know this is a real true story because the act of dogging, La Materia Inferno, or hellish hunting, was therefore and forevermore banned by the Spanish conquistadors. The reason being, Ponce de Leon said that we can't have a dog showing more mercy than our Catholic Christian generals. I tell this story because I'm out here trying to show mercy to these animals that are living in these vacant, dilapidated buildings, these dangerous neighborhoods where no one comes to find them, no one comes to help them. I do this out of compassion. I would think that most normal people would have compassion to want to do things like that. But I don't know. I'm not going to get too preachy. This was just a story time. I hope you like it. That was the story of Burserillo. And let's call him Burserillo, the dog who had a heart. The war dog who had a heart. Don't forget, he was a war dog. This is Memorial Day, and I'm telling you a war story, or actually an anti-war story. We need more anti-war stories, don't you think? Anyway, it's your boy, Mr. Nice Guy, otherwise known as Da-na-na-na-na-na-na Catman. I'm sitting here at my new little hidey hole, trying to get these guys acclimated to me, and it's not having too much luck. I think they're full, which sucks because now I got flies buzzing around, laying eggs in the salmon. I don't know. I might pick it up and throw it away at the end of the day. But anyway, yeah, to Burserillo and to Christopher. You know what? Let me not get political. Happy Memorial Day, y'all. Peace out.